welcome to Add More Zest. My name's Rebecca, also known as 4Kids at 147, and it is time to add white foam board to my spare storage. So quite a while ago I did create a fourth box for my square diamond spares. It is the one I seem to have the most of. However, I only had black foam at the time, and I've been meaning to change it out for white for quite a while. I now have some white, so if I put it on a video schedule, it is more likely to happen. That's how things work in my world. So I need to change out, or I want to change out, I don't need at all, I want to change out my dividers to be white because it goes better with these boxes. These ones just came out, I think I just took them out of another box, or maybe I did create them in black because that was all that I had. I'm trying to use this as a guide. I don't know if it's working very well. We'll see. Ish. That's not as straight as it normally is with a ruler. So maybe a ruler is the way to go. Let's see if I can just trim off this uneven part and see if it works. I think no. Okay, I'm going to do the next one. Let's do it properly. I'll use that for something else in a bit. So the size of these, I always forget. The measurements are on my website, so you can get them from there. And I think I used inches on this. I am one of those people that flips between inches and centimetres depending on which one works better for me. So it's 11 inches by about 3.5 inches. So let's do the long edge first. So I just tend to use just the edge of my knife to mark it. I find that's the easiest way. So 11 across. And then if I actually join up with my ruler, and I find with foam board, you're best making your knife sort of as long as you can so that it can go all the way depth through your foam board. And you tend to have to cut it twice. So the first time seems to cut through this outer layer and the foam, and then the second time seems to cut through the bottom layer. So that's one. And then I said, did I say 3.5? Yes, 3.5 inches. So I'm already going to have at least one straight edge. So if I do 3.5 there and then do 7, that will get me 2. And it doesn't help if I don't. Okay. So this time I want to put my 7 against this far edge, and then I can mark it on the end of my ruler and 3.5. Okay, let's try doing it this way. I will use that other piece for the end bits. So we've got 1 slice, 2 slices, and it tends to go all the way through. I have tried, we have some like industrial size, ridiculously expensive trimmers in the shop, both guillotine style and rotary style. I have tried them with cutting foam board. It is nowhere near as good as just using a knife. So there's no point in bringing those in. Okay, so that's 2. In fact, let's cut the third one. Now, I do also want to make, I have these pieces that give my sort of thousands numbers, and they're 2 of them stuck together. I do actually also want some of these, not with the numbers on the end, but to mean that I don't have to use these bottles at the end, so I want to use them for spacers. So I do actually want to cut quite a few of them. So while I am here, and that's what I'm going to use that other piece for, because I think I'll get away with it. I'll get away with chopping that down into smaller sections, and I can neaten up the edge. So what I am going to do, doing it again, figuring out which way I'm going. Oh, I haven't done my 11. Let me do my 11. Oh, actually, no, because I am cutting it into individuals as well. So let me do my long and then I'll do my 11. I'm so organised, can you tell today? Really organised and ready for this. Yeah, so I also want to create quite a few of them to put in all 4 or maybe even all 6. I don't think my round storage box is needed as much. But I definitely want to put some into my squares. So I might see how many I can get away with. I do have another pack of foam board, which I can grab out of the shop if I need to. But if I cut these down, so these strips, I could sort of possibly piece them together. But I really don't know if I can be bothered, so I am just going to move those out of the way. But let's mark my 11 so I can just create my dividers. So let's put that over there. Let's do my dividers first, because that is, in effect, the easier part to do. Now you can, if you want to create a spare storage box for holding your diamonds, but don't have foam board, don't want to go buying foam board, all the rest of it, you still can do this. Cereal boxes and things like that can work. Right, that's not wide enough. I'm just trying to move over some bits and use up some bits that are wide enough. Put my plastic bag out the way, put my little leaflets. Okay, I've got a full piece there, I've got a couple of sections there, and I've got my black that's coming out. But what I also like to do, and this is just to pretty things up a little bit, because I like things pretty. And I like things looking neat, and my edges are not always neat. And I also don't it's not horrid, but I don't particularly like the look of just the foam. So what I want to do is create myself like a little sticker to go over the top. So this is just a sheet of sticker paper. You can use like the edges if you've got like our DMC numbers. You can just use the edges of the sticker sheets. I'm trying to see, what have I got? So I've got some of the small ones, but like, see these leftover border edge? You can actually use those to neaten this up as well. But I have loads of these sticker sheets, so I may as well use them. So I've cut it down to 11, and then quite often I just go for an inch wide. You don't particularly need an inch, but I feel like the sort of the overlap is good when it's an inch. So if I fight with peeling the backing off, which is always a battle, and lay my sticker down, sticker side up, and then I'm going to pick my nicest edge, we'll hide the horrible edge on the bottom. And then I just want to stick my foam piece down onto my sticker. And then it's actually easier if you leave it on the table and sort of push it that way. It will pop off the foam, but then you can go back and push it back the other way. And it gives you that nice, prettier edge. I think it's prettier than this, personally, which is why I do it. And then we can pop, this is the fun part, trying to pop it back in without any of my DMC cards or bags having gone the wrong way. See, normally this is actually put in right at the beginning before you start adding your DMC cards and bags, and you won't have to fight like this. But because I'm doing mine partway through, some of my cards have shuffled and moved, and then I've got these pots that are getting in the way. Okay, one down. Let's do number 2. So again, fight with the sticker sheet. Get my sticker to lie flat. Pick my nicest edge, which is probably this one. Am I in the middle? Middle-ish. Get that to lie flat and then fold it down and push down to make it stick, and then fold it back the other way and push down to make it stick. And there we go. I've got another one on there. Now, I do use 3 dividers. You can get away with 2. And in fact, I've just taken one out so that I have a little bit more wiggle room. See, look, how nice I did that go in. And then to put the one in the far end, I can just tip my box on its side and let gravity do it for me. So those 3 out the way, and let's put my last one on. And then we'll get to making some smaller ones that will work as my sort of spacers when I don't have as many diamonds, and as I get more diamonds I can move it back. I can take them out and maybe bring them back when I go for a 5th box, who knows. Okay, so just the one on that far edge, and I find that just then makes this box like the perfect size. Like, you're not going to get another one down the other end. It gives you enough wiggle room without it having too much wiggle room. But what I want to do now is I have a couple of bottles here to sort of, if I take them out, these all sort of lie a little bit different. They're not as upright as the ones that do have them, but I'd rather not use bottles. I'd rather use pieces of foam spacers that I can take in and out as I go, a bit like these black ones. I also like to have one in the front because it means that so if you can see, it might be hard to see especially when I tip it up, but this card here that tells me what DMC number is, in fact that's a couple of cards that shouldn't be in there. This one that tells me it's 3838 often just sits there and I can't actually see it, whereas if I put a single piece of foam board in, I can actually see what the number is, or at least see that there's one there. So I want to also do that. So I need to create quite a few of these spacers. Some of them I'm going to double up for ease, and some of them I want them single at the front. So let's have a look. What size are these ones? So they are 2 1/4 inches by the 3.5 inches. So I have 2 pieces of foam board here that are 3.5 inches. One of them is cut very badly, but you get the idea. That one I will neaten up as I go along. So I want these to be 2 1/4 inches. In fact, let's use the mashed up one and see if I can use this as a template for this one. Because it's smaller, I might get away with it. Oh, that's not bad. Okay, because it's a smaller distance, this is working, which is actually perfect because measuring these one at a time, because of the amount I want to do, could get very tedious very quickly. Okay, that one doesn't end up being the right size, so let's move that out of the way before I get confused. Then we'll go in again, and again I'm just using the black to guide my knife across. Just pushed it down a little bit further so that it can still cut all the way through. And again, 2 cuts and I find it comes cleanly away, which is what I want. None of the edges are necessarily all the straightest, but they're definitely straight enough for this purpose, and I am going to tidy them up. And actually this one that I didn't cut down to 11 inches long has worked out that I've got 5 out of that one. So that was a good call. Okay, so I want some sticker pieces. So let's think, if I cut this one at, it was 2 1/4 across is the width of these. So this will be the right width for them. 2 1/4, and then again if I cut them at 1 inch, because 1 inch is generous, like I don't really need 1 inch to wrap it over. Let's see, how much room do I have when I wrap over 2? I still have a fair amount, though I could do them a little bit bigger if I wanted to. And now I've lost where my 3/800s were. There. Put my 3/800s back in. Okay, maybe I do cut some at 1.5 inches for when I do a double. Give myself just that extra little bit to wrap over. 1.5 inch-ish. I'm pretty sure that's about 1.5 inches on this trimmer. Trying to make sure that I throw over that side anything that's not going to be used for this project. So I do want a couple, I say, to go in the front of my spare box. So it's not so bad here because I have a divider that gives me 3 700s, but then my 3/800s is over here, because if I put all those at the end of there, it doesn't give me much wiggle room for as I add diamonds. So I'm going to do the same thing again. This is with 1 sheet, so it's cut to the same width across, and I'm just going to push it down, put it back up to the middle and push it down again, just to neaten up the edge. And then for this one, see, this card again is stuck in the front. I'm just going to put 1 in the front to help it stay just that little bit away from the edge so that I can find the number when I am dekitting. These definitely go a bit crooked. I will take this little bit of crookedness that I seem to have picked up. It's showing more on one side than the other, than having to measure every individual one, because it still fits in. It still fits in. It still looks as pretty as it needs to. And I am very much somebody that does like things neat and pretty, but I can cope with that because that is what I'm seeing, and that is neat and pretty. So I very much love things to be neat, but when it comes to speed over neatness, I will sometimes take the easy option that is maybe not quite as neat. So for my ones at the back, I like to put 2 pieces together just because it's easier to get hold of. It's chunkier. I'd rather have a few chunky pieces holding the back together than have lots and lots of single ones. Is just a bit of double-sided tape to sandwich 2 pieces together, and then I'm going to do my 1.5 inch strips instead, just to cover the join as well as covering sort of the nasty foam edge or the not as nice foam edge, and make this look like one piece. Pop that middle-ish and down and down. And obviously I didn't put that on straight, so I have got an overhang, so I'm going to chop that off. And there's one of my spacers. Now these will take one of our stickers. You do have to chop a little bit off, but they will take one of our stickers. And what I want to do is start building up some of these in here. So I think I'm going to need a few. So let's take out all the black ones. And this is the only thing with deciding to do these. Yes, I prefer them. I think they're neater. I think they're prettier. But they are also going to be a lot more work. So it is completely up to you how much you like pretty and straight as to whether it is something you're going to want to do for yourself. Especially in relation to lots of these spacers. I highly recommend, if you are using foam board to cut yourself the dividing walls, then bare minimum cut yourself at least one of these for the top edge and potentially even the bottom edge, because having a single one does just stop these moving about a little bit. So I highly recommend creating some for each end. After that, it purely is down to the kind of person you are as to whether you can be bothered, should I say, or get the result that you want, the reward that you want for cutting down that many pieces of foam board to make yourself these dividers that will spread it out. So I've got 2 in there at the moment. I still feel like I'm going to need quite a few more. So I think I am going to have to get my other pack of foam board and I'm going to have to cut a lot of these. But let's get the couple that we've got stuck together. And this is my worst box for having space in it. So we've sort of gone to the extreme first. Sometimes with a new project, it's best doing the extreme first, and then the project gets nicer and nicer as you go along. And the end of it gets closer and closer. And then it's just a lot of peeling and sticking. Getting it pretty much in the middle. So it's just a matter of neatening it up as much as I can. You can sort of cut some of the edges off foam board with scissors, but it's not particularly easy. But that's more where my hash cutting was. But the idea is I want a few of those so that my cards still move, still let me get bags in and out, but are closer together so that they stand upright and look nice. I don't know how many bits of card it's going to take, and see, I'm wondering how much I like it now, and there's a reason, and that is because these are all not looking to be the same height, and I think it's my dodgy cutting from before. I do want the heights of them to be uniform. And this is where foam board is not very nice, is when you're just trying to trim a little bit off. It sort of shreds itself. See those 2 that are from, I think they're from the other piece of board. They definitely weren't hacked as much in the bottom. Are sitting much nicer, but the next one is not sitting as nice. We shall see. I just don't want the bottles. I just don't want these bottles stuck in the back because they don't stand upright. They don't do it in the way I want them to. Okay, I can probably get a couple out of here if I trim them down. So 2 1/4. I can't use it to sort of draw around this one because I'm doing it the opposite way. So let's try cutting that down. This is probably my knife skills as much as anything else. And then, okay, why did I do 2 1/2? I did. I measured 2 1/2, not 2 1/4. That's where centimetres may have helped me fix my mistake. It's harder to get it wrong, get the wrong measurement with that one. Okay, try again. Well, that was a nicer cut anyway, that was neater. And now, because this is the small cut, I'll use this, and then again, and that's used up the remnants of that foam board. So let's try some more tape. I'll probably end up going down to just one piece of double-sided tape as I go along making these, because if it takes less effort to get the same results, then I'm all for it. Okay, 2 together. Get those out the way. Stick a sheet. Can you see why I've been putting this off? I have been putting off updating the foam on my spare storage. Not because of these foam strips. That was the easy part. It's this that's not the easy part. Well, it is, but it's not because of the amount I'm going to need. So I still think I probably need another one in there. And that's one of my shorter edge. Oh, let's try the middle one. So this one, how many would this need? Just being curious. Okay, so 3 would fit nice in this one. In fact, it may only need 2. 2 would work in that one to still be able to stand upright and look pretty, but like when it's tipped down, it doesn't go all the way down like this does. It just goes that you can still flick through and see. That's the difference I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make it go like this and not like this. So 2 will work in that one to still move freely. I need more in this one, and I'll need a lot more in this one because this is sort of the end of my DMC. If I show you my other boxes, or at least one of my others, so this is my 600s to 800s. So can you see I do have the single one at the front to help me see the number. This one only has a single one. It doesn't need any more. It moves freely. This one has a single one at the end, but does have 2 pots. And this one has a single one at the end, but 2 pots. So, for the purposes of showing you what I'm planning on doing, let's try taking out 2 pots for 2 dividers. I can get hold of them. So that, well, it's got two 2s and a single. You see how much nicer that all sits. This is the look that I want for all of my boxes. I've got it for one of them. But this is what I'm trying to achieve for all of my boxes. And then I could always, if I wanted, if I didn't, maybe what I'll do, if I don't like the way they're sitting together, is maybe I could put an extra divider between the 600s and the 700s, you know, rather than at the bottom, and just have that bigger gap there, so sort of spread out the gap. That might be a nice way of doing it. So for this one, I'll put a double at the front and a double at the back, and then that still the same amount of space, but I can take one out of the front or the middle or the back, depending on how much room I think it needs. So there we go. I've got a double and a single at the front, a double and a single at the back. I've got a double there, I've got a double there, and I've actually got 2 singles here. And that is my ideal sort of tippage rate for my spare storage. So, oh, put my bookmark in. So what I'm going to do is I think I am going to grab my other pack of foam. I do have 1 sheet still here, but I'm going to grab my other pack of foam and I'm going to cut a load of these and tape them up, because that is in effect the tedious part, is the cutting and the taping together. I'm going to cut a load of these, tape them all up, sticker them all up, because I've shown you how to do that. And then I'll show you what the boxes look like once it's all finished, and how they look prettier. So I'll speak to you in a mo. Hi. So I thought I'd come on part way through sort of doing these inserts to let you know I've got a little mini production line going. So I thought it may be helpful to some, or not, but I thought, do you know what, let's come on and let you know that I am on a little production line with these and sort of show you what I'm doing. So I'm doing a full A4 sheet at a time. I've used this to give me my spacing, to save me messing about with my ruler, but for the long edges I am using my ruler to cut. I definitely get a much straighter line when I do that, and getting rid of the excess pieces sort of as I go along. I have also cut up 1 full A4 sheet of my sticker paper into these little bits. I figured it's not going to go into my printer if it's part cut anyway, so I may as well just cut a batch of them and then the trimmers out the way. I am then cutting my 2 strips, and I get 5 of these per strip, so 10 per A4 sheet of paper, or A4 sheet of foam board. I'm doing 3, and then I'm turning it round so I get my nice straight edge at the other end. Factory cut, straight edge, and cutting my other 2. So getting rid of the excess bits. I have found a few times I only need to do 1 cut rather than 2. Maybe it's because I'm in production mode rather than, you know, just doing a small task. I seem to have got to the point where I am pressing it enough to get all the way through. So yeah, I'm using this spacer for these small ones, and this makes it so much quicker than measuring them out, and as long as my top edges are nice once I've got the stickers on, I find it works. And then again, sort of full production mode, and I could do this by cutting up, you know, 4 or 5 full A4 sheets, but because I don't know the exact amount of these that I need, I am finding that doing them in sort of batches per sheet is working well. It gives me, you know, the speed that you get with a production line. You know, you're not wasting time doing one thing and picking up scissors and putting tape on and, you know, putting them down again and then having to pick them up again later. So I get the production line benefit, but I'm not doing too many that one task bores me too much without it changing, or I end up with far too many cut. I do want some extras, but not a huge amount. I have checked my rounds, and my rounds actually don't need any at all. My rounds are sort of the perfect size at the moment. They have a single one in the front, a single one in the back, and my 2 boxes fit my round diamonds great, with wiggle room but not too much wiggle room. I then peel off so I've taped them all up, 5 of them up at once, and then I piece my bits together all at once and just get them all stacked up. I seem to have got on a little bit of a roll with the tape as well. Every now and then a piece of double-sided tape throws me for a loop, but this double-sided tape actually sticks really, really well to the foam board, so I'm not having to fight that the same way you can do with canvases. And I get rid of my rubbish again. Always makes me feel better when I do that. I do keep using this black one as a guide just because it's a completely different colour, so it's easier, though you could use any that you've already done. Then I do my stickers, and you could still lean them on the mat, but I found with the small ones you can do them in your hand just as easy. But as I do them, I then put my foam boards away. I've put, so far, I use the ones that we did on camera before to put in my other box. And on this one, what I'm doing is sort of spacing them out. So I have an extra one here at the front, an extra one in the middle, and one in the back. And then here I'm going to end up with a few more. And I'm sort of doing them as I go along. I actually think, sorry, that'll be Luna barking at a bird. The birds have some nerves, you know. They really do. They sit on the roof and taunt her. Yeah, what I might do is actually move some of those over to here and make this one just a little bit less than the others. What I also want to do before I show you sort of the full stretch all done, I'm trying to find a nice stopping point. 20 is probably too much. Let's try taking from 30 over. Maybe that will be a nice divide, and then I can put a little bit more in here. Or is that too many? It was at 3/8, so I've only taken like 7 DMC numbers over. But I'm just trying to spread where the sort of foam board is, so that when it does get a bit bigger, I can just take foam board out and I'm not having to shuffle diamonds at the same time. So maybe if we put another one in there, and then we put another one at the back. All my other boxes as well, I have had a quick look at my other boxes, and they're nowhere near as bad as this one. So they were a bit like the 6-800 one. I also am going to, before I come back and show you it all finished, because I think I may need to cut another 1, maybe 2 A4 sheets of foam. I am going to sort of cream off a few more of my diamonds. I know I've said it a few times when I've been de-kitting that a few of my bags have started to get a bit too full again. I am going to do that beforehand, and actually that one feels all right. It doesn't lay back too much, so I'm going to call that done for that box. Though, I say, there are a few that are pretty full. Maybe this isn't the best box for the culprits. Oh no, there we go, 3805, that's a pretty full bag. So I am going to go through these boxes and take off the ones that are too full and put them in with my spares to give away. I'm going to do that before I say, okay, it is definitely got all of its foam board pieces in. But I just thought I'd show you my little production line with it, because then I feel like I'm moving forward. But I don't feel like all I'm doing is sitting here and cutting all the foam and then taping all of the foam. Doing it that one sheet at a time is working perfect. So I'll see you in a minute with the finished result. And I'm done. That took a huge chunk of this afternoon, but I am so happy that it is completed. I did use all the white foam board that I had left. There are a couple of places that I'm like, maybe it could have taken a little bit more, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things, I was fully prepared to go out and get some more foam board this evening and do it and then finish it up. But I really think it is very much that borderline that it is not worth getting another full pack, especially as soon as I start de-kitting more square kits. It's going to grow a little bit more anyway. Sorry, I didn't realise my battery was so low. I have gone through, and any sort of bags of diamonds where I could see like it was really, really too full, which I know I've had on sort of recent de-kittings. I have moved some of those into my extra spares. So I also know, and I'm conscious that I have taken out quite a few diamonds. So I think the sort of amount that I have now, one, looks nice, the diamonds stay up. It's actually quite nice. I've tried to make sure in most cases, I think it's only these two that don't have both a double and the numbers, but it's got a single and then the numbers, so they are all sort of away from the front rather than just focusing on putting them in the back, and I think that's going to really help when I'm de-kitting, to have that space there and lose it from the back first. I've also spread some out, so, and some of them, they are in the number gaps. Not all of them. Doesn't work on this one. It's one at the back, one at the front. If I find I'm struggling to see that divider, I might move that one forward, but I'm happy with the layout now. I feel like these are now back to being fully pretty rather than pretty, but I could just do with doing this. It's finally finished off, probably at least a year later, from me moving into 4 boxes for my spares. But just to give you sort of a view, if I tilt it up a little bit, you see it moves. I can take the diamonds in and out, which is what I want to be able to do, and that's why I moved to 4 boxes. I don't want them squooshed that I'm trying to force my diamond bags back in when I de-kit. They move, but not too much. I've not got these bottles, like spare bottles in the back that don't quite sit right, and yeah, it looks a lot nicer. So they are my 100 to 500s. There are still a few bags that are, I wouldn't say full over full, but they are fairly full. I think going forward when I de-kit squares, I am going to be aware of that, and if I find a bag's too full, go, right, okay, let's take some of those out and do it as I'm de-kitting, because that was the worst part of this job. I actually quite happy to do the little production line of cutting the foam board, and then, you know, once I've assembled 5 lots, popping them in, all that. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Taking out some of the diamonds because there was too many and moving them over, no. Not as big a fan, but it is done, and I will just do it when I'm de-kitting going forward, because then sometimes I'll have to do 1 bag, sometimes I won't, and eventually, yeah, it will just get part of a habit that if a bag's getting too full, I take a load out there and then, label them up, and then put them in my spares once my giveaway spares once I've finished a video. So it will just become routine. That is my 600s to 800s. Pretty, like, quite a lot of DMC numbers in there. But I say, there's a decent amount of spares for should I ever need them, as I did the other week. But there's not too many that they're overflowing. This one has a little bit more freedom. Again, it's that row. Should I put some more in? Should I not? but there was actually quite a few of the 900s that I took some out, so I think it won't take long for that to fill up again and get a little bit more standing like a soldier. And then last but by no means least, the box I started on and the box that has had the most spaces in it, and these are the 3700s to the 3800s, because there is like a row and a bit and then, you know, more than a row and 2/3 in these. It was the nicest split from box to box, but it never quite filled a box. But the 3800 numbers, I personally have found these are becoming a lot more popular to be used in diamond painting. So my stash of these is forever going to grow, especially if I get through as many paintings this year as I'd like to. But thank you so much for joining me for my other foam project. Thank you for asking for a video to see it, because otherwise goodness knows how much longer it would have taken. I am really happy that they now all look pretty, and when it does come to probably my next ones to dekit would be my 3 paint gem sets all at once. I think it is going to be so much nicer. I'm going to enjoy doing it so much more when my boxes are how I want them to be, which is why I mess with them so much. So yeah, thank you for wanting the video, which has made me put it on my schedule, which has made me do it. So if you've heard me discuss anything else that I've said I would like to do and I haven't yet done, do let me know if it is something that you want to see, because then it might just spur me on to get it done. But anyway, that is it for today. I need to put my short bookmarks back in. I noticed as I was popping away each box to give me room, I kept forgetting to put the bookmarks back in. I was like, it's fine, I can do them all at the end. And these just help me see where I'm up to when I'm actually dekitting, so you can see how they're used in a past or future dekitting video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon.